Okay.
As a break from my regularly scheduled programming, this weekend we went on a trip to Mexico City. Kyle and I, my husband Kyle, went with our friends Alex and Evan and had an absolute blast, and I'm going to take you with me to show you all the things that we did. We live in San Diego, so you're able to drive to the border and fly from Tijuana. It's much cheaper to fly as a domestic flight in Mexico than to fly from San Diego directly to Mexico City, so that's what we did. The flight from San Diego is around 3.5 hours, so I got some reading in. I'm reading the second in the Morgan Mays painting trilogy. This one is on Franz Marc. Serendipitously, I actually thought about Franz Marc, the German painter, a lot while I was in Mexico City. His use of color, I imagine, really influenced Chucho Reyes. I'm not sure, but it kind of looks like it did, so I'm going to look that up later. But in any case, I was thriving with my book and drinking my beers. On the Aeromexico flight, drinking was free, so we had a blast. I've been to Mexico City twice, and both times I stayed in an Airbnb. I highly recommend staying in an Airbnb when you're in Mexico City. The hotels, I feel like you don't really get much value for your money. They're quite expensive, and you can get a really nice Airbnb for a lot less money. When we got to the Airbnb, I put on my little 90s slip dress, had a cerveza, and then we headed off to dinner. Night one, we treated ourselves to a Michelin-starred restaurant in Roma Norte called M that my friend Alex found because apparently Dua Lipa recommended it. And I'd like to personally thank Dua Lipa because the restaurant was fantastic. But there were a lot of courses, and by the end, we were delusional and had a case of the giggles. And I thought that maybe we were going to get kicked out because everyone else in the restaurant was so well behaved. But the waiters were awesome, and they really loved us. We were having a blast. I don't know what it is about really nice restaurants, but everyone is very quiet and well behaved, like it's a church or something. The next morning, we had coffee in our Airbnb in Roma Norte. If anyone is traveling to Mexico City for the first time, I recommend staying in Roma Norte. The neighborhood has a lot of great restaurants and food. It's really walkable, but it's still close enough to touristy stuff that you feel like you're in the middle of it all. On this first day, we have a tour of Casa Louis Barragan scheduled. I highly recommend scheduling a tour of that house if you can. It is stunning. The first time we came to Mexico City, we couldn't get tickets. The house is still owned and lived in by the Ortega family, so they only let a few people tour a day, and it can be tough to get tickets if you don't book in advance.
Of all of these colors, because I want to show you some examples of taking, some examples of where he took this information.
I didn't take any video inside of the house. I'm going to talk to you all about the experience in a video that I post later this week, but it was low-key a spiritual experience, and I feel like I have a newfound inspiration for how I want to handle things creatively in my career moving forward just because of a tour of this property. It's incredible. Here's my little outfit for our next night. We're going to Brujas, which is my favorite bar in Mexico City. It's called Witches, and only women work there, and it's the best cocktails, the best music, the best vibe. Highly recommend. After Brujas, we go for dinner at Palmares. I have less footage from there because the drinks started to hit. And we had a good time. Here I am, drunkenly trying to reapply lip liner before eating grasshoppers.
I didn't hate that. No, I didn't hate that one bit.
Kyle's turn to have some grasshoppers with his mezcal. I love that the waiter insisted on watching the white boy eat the grasshoppers. The next morning, Alex and I took our hangover shopping, and we found some wonderful goodies. I flagged all those stores that we went to in Google Maps, so if anyone needs boutique recommendations, let me know. I have a whole list. Then we collected the boys and went on a really long walk through the park to different neighborhoods to explore. The city was extra filled this weekend because the World Cup is happening, and it's in Mexico City, partially anyway. At this point, the Mexico-England game isn't until tomorrow, so the crowds are relatively calm. We had to find a bar before the downpour started, and thank God we made it in time. We ended up spending hours in this bar and had a great time. Something about the thunderstorm all around us and everyone inside cheering on the World Cup games. It was such a cozy and community environment. We had an absolute blast. I can feel pressure on trips sometimes to really take in everything and do as much as possible. But it's the moments that you don't plan for that end up being the most memorable, so there's no need to jam-pack a trip. The rain abated just in time to make it to our reservation at Entremar. I highly recommend going to Entremar over Contramar. They're both really famous restaurants in Mexico City. They have the exact same menu, and I think that the vibe at Entremar is just better. And yeah, the food is so good.
Cheers.
Posting photos of the fun times that were had on my Instagram if you want to check them out. Then we reach our last day. We make sure we wake up with enough time to get tacos before we head to the airport. I was genuinely sad to leave Mexico City and go back to normal life. But I have a lot to think about. So check out my video later this week. I'm going to talk to you all about Casa Barragan and how I think that might impact what I think about my creative projects moving forward. I hope you liked this. If you have any questions, I'm here. I'm on the internet. You know where to find me.